So I've, as of recently, been getting my DC knowledge up and have been diving into mostly older comics. I've been all over lots of 90s stuff like Superman, Man of Steel, Mark Waid's Flash, and I've been getting into the Kyle Rayner 90s arc of Green Lantern, and I've never felt more seen. That's my guy right there, Ron Mars, the man that you are. I can't wait to see Aaron Pierre as Jon Stewart, but damn, this guy in the DCU is gonna go off. Lanterns is gonna be peak. I will start doing a Batman deep dive probably around Christmas, at least the older stuff that I haven't gotten a chance to dig too deep into. But of DC characters, Batman is probably the one I'm the most familiar with, the character I've read the most stories of, and the majority of books I own are probably Batman books. Once your boy had the bread to start collecting, I started by going all in on the new 52 Batman, which was primarily Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's run with the astonishing colors by FCO Placencia, my mutual on Twitter, you know, no big deal. But I've been focusing on lots of older stories, kind of ignoring the new stuff that came out, although there have been certain things that have piqued my interest, things I've kept my eye on. This week, Absolute Batman came out, and all I could hear on Twitter was how amazing it was, how it changed people's lives, it gave them $1 million, it cured their ailments, all sorts of stuff like that. Scott Snyder was like, the first and second prints have already sold out. I'm thinking we're gonna need a third. So I decided to take a break from the past and look to the future, and I checked out Absolute Batman, and holy shit.
I get it.
Honestly, I shouldn't be surprised since Scott Snyder is a baller and a beast, but damn, Absolute Batman is absolutely fucking badass, man. So this is all coming off the heels of some major events from this year like Absolute Power by Mark Waid and Dan Mora, two other beasts which had a couple more tie-ins, but it was essentially like a 4-part event in which Amanda Waller used AI to frame all the heroes on Earth of going postal on the public and then used these Amazotech bots to steal their powers. Obviously, they prevailed in the end. There was this really great part though that I thought I mentioned where some of them start to defect, and instead of just absorbing their abilities, they absorb their morals too. And Amanda Waller has this epic line, which I love that shit. Mark Waid is too nice with it sometimes. But this then leads to DC All In, which is essentially the superheroes forming the Justice League again, or Justice League Unlimited, and building up a new improved watchtower to make sure something like that would never happen again, but it gets attacked not just by Darkseid, but the will of God, the Spectre bonded with him, and he dips and leaves behind a nice little parting tear in space-time gift for them. And the second half of the book is seeing Darkseid's perspective as he orchestrates this bonding with him and Jim Corrigan, the Spectre, which was really badass. And he does this with the Spectre to find out the truth about some shift that he felt. And the Spectre reveals that Darkseid is like this primal force for the multiverse, and he's like the antithesis of hope and good, which is represented in Superman, and he's like constraint. And essentially, if I'm not mistaken, of course, he creates this alpha universe, not cooler than the Sigmaverse, mind you know, which is way cooler, but like we don't even actually care about being cooler, you know. But this is a universe where the primary force is not good and hope, but the opposite, that births a different type of hero with teases to the new Elseworlds trinity. So Absolute Batman starts mostly with the perspective from Alfred, who is not in this universe the Wayne's butler, but essentially a special agent spy who has been assigned to return to Gotham to get intel on this new criminal group, the Party Animals, taking on the visage of Black Mask, very sinister individuals who have been running amok in Gotham as of late, to say the least. He's only there to gather intel though and not engage with anything, but when the Party Animals disrupt an emergency town hall meeting called together by Jim Gordon, Absolute Batman comes through and lays on a beastly beatdown. Okay, this mofo is 220 doing in the air split kicks, ragdolling fools, tossing batarangs full speed at their heads, and he even chops off this big Brosiv's hand when he tries to go band for band with him axe style, which is what the symbol is. At first I didn't like it, truthfully. It just looked like a fat ass brick bat. I'm still kind of on the fence about it. I do, however, like the utility of it. You know, it's an axe, but I am seriously warming up to it more after I found out that, well, 0 people died here. Okay, Absolute Batman is brutal, brolic, and badass, but what he is not is a killer, which when I first saw that it was an axe before I read the book, I was like, okay, that's cool. It's an Elseworld Darkseid universe. If Batman kills, I don't really care too much because we still got Prime, Earth Zero Batman, who doesn't. I'm chill with that. But they found a way to make make a brutal Batman that, despite being so brutal, still does not kill, which I find so much more interesting, that there's this guy who still has a line but is willing to push it to crazier levels. Scott Snyder will never not be goated with the sauce. I also do love the overall design, and the yellow imprint is pretty cool. Alfred sees this guy as the real deal and then finds out firsthand for himself and spends the rest of the issue tailing him and finding out who he is. And this new Bruce Wayne is basically this 24-year-old, huge, not rich, working class guy whose father died, but he still has his mother. He's like this genius savant, and he's been so all of his life. Did I mention he was huge? Like, I'm talking thick, triple C, stuffed crust bitch with the cheese pull apart in everything. Mofo is brolic, okay, to say the least. They took a very grassroots approach, I feel, to Bruce's trading, which is both feasible, but it's still intriguing for a person in his predicament who's, you know, not some millionaire. It's not as sensational as, you know, the League of Shadows, right? But it's gritty, resourceful, and badass. I especially like how he worked at so many different levels of Gotham City, which is honestly such an interesting spin that feels more wholesome, maybe, and intimate than even regular Batman's relationship with Gotham City, being, I'd say, more tied to his family's status than anything. There are plenty of bones of the original lore, with, I'd say, just in this universe, it seems some of the fluff is removed and the deeper parts of the character pushed to the surface, and this feels like an actual fresh and interesting take on Batman that I'm really hyped for. I'm so curious how this new origin will affect Bruce and his relationship with his mother, and really how all these relationships will be shown and fostered, especially since most of his rogues have been positioned to be some of his closest childhood friends. The Joker of this universe is essentially a guy who never jokes. So whichever way they're twisting the lore, it seems very methodical, so they absolutely got my attention. But I had a great time with this one. Scott Snyder is always a beast, but serious shout out to Nick Dragotta and Frank Martin. Excellent job with the colors. I'm seriously contemplating collecting this series, picking up Absolute Wonder Woman next week, and then I think Absolute Superman is in November. I know Scott Snyder said him and Nick are signed on for 2 years if all goes well, and you know, I'm betting it will. So I'm looking forward to seeing this universe take form and unfold. But let me know what you think, guys. If you've already read this one, what are your thoughts? Do you have any predictions for Absolute Batman and just the Absolute universe in general? I'm all ears. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you liked the video, leave me a thumbs up, comment down below, and if you want, subscribe. I always appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope all of you guys are well, and I will see you in the next one.